Today we're going to talk about unlocking customer loyalty through seamless and secure digital experiences. Interestingly, a few months ago I ran a think tank and we were talking about the importance, we were talking about AI. As you can imagine, it's the topic of conversation every time. But when we talked about AI, what it always came back to is identity and data. Was my data right and was my identity stuff right? So I'm really excited to introduce our first speaker. We're going to hear from Gilad Shriki from descope, who's going to talk to us about the importance of getting a customer's identity right so that the AI can work well. So please join me in welcoming Gilad to the stage.
Hi everyone, so my name is Gilad Shriki. Shriki, everybody calls me Shriki, so you can use that. And I'm going to speak about really how to make sure your customer identity and journey of authentication are done right. I'm going to give some tips and some ideas on how to improve experiences. So I'm a software developer by heart, but I, moved around. I like working with people more, so I less compilers. So I started in software development, moved to product management. Now I'm mostly in services. I've been, most of my career in cybersecurity. Identity is a very strong part of that. And part of descope, I run the customer experiences. I'm going to talk a bit about few of the challenges that we've seen in the market, and I think this should not be too new to a lot of you. Talking about the challenges around the funnel of a visitor all the way to the checkout and the conversion. So the first area is really how we convert into a sign-up. So from a user that we don't know anything about it, a visitor to the website, how do we make sure they sign up? How do we make sure we track the activity of the user? And you can see the numbers, 86% of actual commerce visitors are still anonymous. We'll then talk about how we handle the drop-offs. And drop-offs can happen in multiple locations or milestones. One of them is when we ask user to create their account. That's one of the frictions we see. Then later on, we'll talk about cart abandonment and drop off in the checkout. Return visit is also important. I've talked with one big retailer who told me the first purchase we usually lose money, right? The first purchase a customer does, we lose money because of the customer acquisition cost we incur. So we want them to come again. We want them to have repeat purchases. And you can see 47% of users actually abandon the cart because they don't know how to log in, they don't remember their credentials and things like that. And then lastly, how do we balance security with the user experience? There was always a trade-off between security and user experience. One trade-off I can tell is let's ask for 20-character passwords with special characters. I don't know what makes them special, but they're special. And capital letters and lower letters and numbers, and just think about the user at the end of the day that we're asking that just to have a very strong password. So there's always a trade-off, and I'm going to talk a bit about methods that are kind of like overcoming those trade-offs. So let's kick in. And start. So the first area is really anonymous, and I talked a bit about it. How do we take an anonymous visitor and actually make them a user that we can track, that we can understand, maybe target, maybe actually show relevant information for them? And then how do we give them a good experience without the understanding who they are? How do we track their activity and still try to remember what they've done as part of their anonymous visits? So one thing is try to convert them from anonymous to actually logged in user. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the one-tap experience. When you go into a site and there's like a little bubble at the right top, that asks you, hey, you are logged in your browser, that's your name, do you want to continue? This is very, very easy to just click on it and become authenticated. This is usually using your Google account, but this is becoming more and more popular. It's one click, user clicks on it because they're already logged in the browser, they're immediately signed in or signed up, by the way. You can later on, and we'll talk about progressive profiling, ask more information as you need. We've seen across the industries very, very good results of OneTap. You can see the numbers here. It's very amazing, right? Just with a single click, I don't need to create a password. I don't need to think if I remember this password. I don't need to remember my username. Nothing. I just click a button, and I'm in. And you can see, I was amazed by the News Minute. They're saying 100% of all new signups since the time they actually launched the OneTap actually came from OneTap. This is, like, if you think about it, it's a crazy number. But you can see the rest of the numbers pretty nice. When you're looking on, let's say, we did not convert them. So how do we actually track them? So first visit, they come in. We think we know something about it, but we tag them, right? We tag them, so we fingerprint their session, we fingerprint their device. We start looking into what they're doing. Then the second time, maybe they come and want to purchase. Maybe they even check out as anonymous. But we still remember who they are, right? We don't know who they are, but they remember it's the same person or the same device. We collect more information about what they buy, what they're looking, what they're browsing. But then when they're actually ready to log in and create an account, all the history of what they did is already there. And that's key because now, think about the experience. I bought something anonymously, but then when I logged in, I already see my order. This is a great user experience, and this is a great information that the retail can have on a user when they create the account. Talking about the second funnel stage is really the account creation itself. So, we've managed to track the anonymous. They're ready to create their account. Now, this is also a point of friction, like I mentioned about the passwords and how do I think of a username or how do I think of a password. And then the second piece is, again, how do we, as a service providers, provide a way to block bot attacks or any fraudulent activity or even an account takeover. And one of them is really, like the OneTap, adding social login. Now, there is some level of misconception about the social login. If I allow the users to log in with Google, it doesn't mean Google knows everything about the user, what the user is doing in my site. Right? We're not really giving any information to Google about the activity of the site. We're just establishing trust between who is the identity in front of us. And you can see we have a big B2C customer. They launched social, specifically Google and Apple, and you can see the numbers. So very quick uptake of social. And in contrast, very big decline in passwords. So people like to use the social. And then overall, it also grew their monthly active users, which means the traffic in the site actually grew as part of this adoption of social. So, and then the next piece is, I hope most of you are aware, but this is a new, or rather new, or the newest authentication methods that is getting traction. And it's called passkeys. It's basically a new method of securing the identity. What's going on there is we create a private public key, and we store the private key in our devices. We protect it with our, most of the time we protect it with our biometric. And then basically, we allow the establishment of trust between the website or the application and me and my device. A very, very frictionless experience I think the only challenge today with passkeys is enablement or awareness, but you can start already seeing that in some major sites. Best Buy already does that. Home Depot does it. Google, of course, Google, Microsoft, all of the big ones, but you can start seeing retails and B2C scenarios. So it's very fast. You literally, once you set it up, you use your touch ID or Face ID or whatever biometrics you have on the device. About 99-point-something devices already support that. It's very secure, very powerful security mode, but also it's very easy to sign in and sign up. And then the last space is really unphishable, so no more account takeovers, no more fraudulent activities in the site. Google did some research, and they found out that with passkeys, you can log in 4 times faster. So from the moment you enter the login experience, right, when you compare it to passwords, where the user needs to type something versus the user needs to put their finger or read their face, 4 times faster. And not only 4 times faster, it's also reducing the drop-offs, okay? So, twice as faster, but 4 times reducing the drop-offs, which really means, I think it's the more impactful metric, right? So basically, out of 4 people that try to do the passkeys, never mind the numbers, okay, I'm not strong in numbers in this morning, but it's just 4 times faster. Let's take my Google words for it. So passkeys is strong, passkeys is getting there. Again, depending on the audience or your demographics, really recommend starting looking into it. We already see it in some of the mass market websites. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can actually A/B test. And this is also a key component in your login experiences or authentication experiences. Don't do anything as 100% or it's all or nothing. You can actually experiment. So for example, instead of allowing social logins to all your users day one, which you're not sure what will be the impact, take 20% of your traffic and show them login with Google. See what it does to conversion in terms of user experience, in terms of the login, but also in terms of the checkout. Maybe you'll find out that anybody that is logging in with Google more likely to complete a purchase, or maybe not. The concept is don't do everything or nothing. You can actually experiment. You can actually do A/B testing and see what is the impact. And I hope a lot of you already are doing that in the retail sites, because it's important. Sometimes any percentage in a positive trend or a negative is a lot of money. So why not bring it also to the authentication experiences and to the authentication methods? You can do that by authentication methods. You can do it by the styling of the screen. Is the Google the first option and then username password? Is the Google the second option and then, but then the first is username password? You can think about almost any change that you want to do in the authentication as an A/B testing opportunity. And before you do it for all, you can ramp up. You can start small, 10%, 20%, and only then see the results, analyze the results, and then decide if you continue. The third area of the funnel is really return visits. Like I mentioned, a lot of the retail sites don't see a lot of money in the first purchase, and they want repeat purchases. So how do we make sure we have that? How do we make sure we allow the user a frictionless coming back to the site, re-login, re-authentication when needed, but also to prevent the problems of account takeover, the problem of frauds? One of the things that you're all familiar with is MFA, right? I mean, passwords are bad. You can see my T-shirts. Passwords are bad, so now we're bringing in, let's send you an OTP, let's send you a magic link, let's do this or that. But when? When are we doing that? Some of the sites are doing that every time. Every time I log in, I need now, okay, they send me a text, I need to take this 6-digit number, put it in the website. But what we're saying is, why not actually understanding what's going on? Understand the scenario, right? If it's the same device, Same user, same device, same location. Pretty sure in high chances it's okay. So why do we need an MFA? But if the device just moved 1,000 miles in an hour, or if it's a different device that we're not familiar with, or they're coming from a country we never logged in with, look at that as a risky situation. So there are 3 levels in security that you always look. Is it low risk, medium risk, and high risk? So you can spin up an MFA in the medium risk and above, or even block the high risk, right? If you know it's a bot, why do you even bother? Just block the login. So there are multiple players in this field to bot protection. There's reCAPTCHA and fingerprint and others. I think there is a best of breed approach here that you can look at and bring in the best of the best to protect your websites, and then allow some adaptive MFA to control the experience. So again, low risk, everything is okay, let's go ahead. It's the same device, same location, same user. Some risk, we will do an MFA, but if we know it's bad, if we know the user just traveled 1,000 miles in an hour, we call that the impossible travel, maybe just block it, maybe just don't allow it. Things like that. The question, of course, is when and to what extent, but that's one of the areas that we see that is gaining traction. The MFA, and what we're saying is add a risk level MFA in just of that MFA for every login, which is a lot of friction. The second part of friction is, and I'm getting very frustrated when I want to create an account, I get a 20-question forms. Not only questions like on the password, but also questions about my entire history of life. So usually I will just close it and say, okay, never mind. Progressive profiling is one tip that I would recommend looking into. So can we take the minimum set of data from a user that is what we need at this point? So when they sign up, create the account, maybe we don't need the address. Maybe we'll let them browse a bit. Maybe we'll let them select some ideas or some opportunities, and then ask them as they return, as they come back, or even as they try to check out. And this is key, right? Progressive profiling allows you to stop the drop-off in the 20 questions forms. Second one is use the same experience, right? So if you're using multiple devices, multiple websites, I don't want to remember, wait, this is web, this is mobile, this is one side, this is the other side. Unify the experience, unify the identity. I'm the same person. If you have multiple assets, multiple stores, why do I need to create an account in each one? Just unify them for me. So that is also a key area. So how do we unify the experience, create one identity and one experience to log in across all of our brands, all of our sites, all of our assets? Then the last piece is really the cart, which is where the money is, right? How do we secure the transactions, and how do we avoid abandonment cart? So one of them is the setup. We talked about it. Step-up MFA means I'm trying to do something sensitive. I want to make sure that it's really you, right? One of the things is, let's say I'm trying to buy something, but then I want to change the delivery address to somewhere I never delivered to. So one of the things is, okay, now we step up. Now we actually make sure the user is who they say they are. We can use multiple ways to do that, multiple authentication methods. But the high-risk transactions, I definitely do another level of authentication so you know that person is the user that they're saying they are. And of course, if they're failing the step up, just block the action. Second piece is, let's say they added a few things into the cart, they left it, closed the browser, went home or went to work. If you want to remind them, hey, you still have things in the cart, use links that include their identity. And this will help you get over that hump of, okay, I'm getting a link, I forgot this, I'm going in, boom, I see a username password. That's really frustrating. So use those links, and these calls embedded links, that like magic links, it includes the token of the user, right? So think I get an email, hey, you forgot these items in your cart. I click on the link, and I'm authenticated already. I'm authenticated, and I see my items. I don't need to get another username password request or another please log in until I get to the cart, because most likely I will just close the browser and keep going. So that's the other piece of it. So coming up on the next, last slide, hope, yes, promise. Commerce next steps. See what I've done there? That's our marketing team is very witty. Commerce next steps. So just as a, some summary points, conclusions, recommendation. At the end of the day, improve the experience, reduce friction, keep security, and and the account protection. These are all key. These are a few points that I'll leave you with. Thank you very much.